Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's September 7th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1950, Mexico wrestling legend, Brazo de Oro. 1957, a 10 hunt, it's Corporal Mike Kirshner. 1958, one half of the Batten Brothers tag team, Bart Batten. 1962, legendary enhancement talent, George South. And last but not least, 1977, Nora Molly Holly Greenwald. And we're going to keep that positivity train a-rolling. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for September 7th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1927, where we see Jack Reynolds win his fourth World Welterweight title from Burt Willard in Columbus, Ohio. Moving ahead 9 years to 1936, Honey Boy Hackney becomes the first two-time Southern Light Heavyweight Champion in Atlanta, Georgia, by defeating Ben Jordan. Moving into the decade of 1940s, 1945, Buddy Rogers defeats Ted Cox to win his second Texas heavyweight title in Houston, Texas. Moving into the 50s, 1956, Pepper Gomez defeats Gene Kelly, aka Gene Knitsky, for the NWA Texas heavyweight title in Houston, Texas, beginning his fourth reign. The title had been held up after a match between the two 2 weeks earlier. Sticking in 1956, Don McIntyre defeats Fred Blassie to win the Georgia NWA Southern Heavyweight title in Atlanta, Georgia, ending Blassie's third reign and beginning McIntyre's 12th. Grooving into the 60s, 1960, Tony Bourne defeats Ed Francis to win the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title, ending Francis's 5th reign. Moving ahead 1 year to 1961, Carl and Kurt Von Brunner defeat Ike Ekins and Eddie Graham in a tournament final in Jacksonville, Florida for the vacant Florida NWA World Tag Team titles, beginning their third reign. Moving ahead 2 years to 1963, AWA World Heavyweight Champion Vern Gagne defeats Omaha World Heavyweight Champion Fritz Von Erich in Omaha, Nebraska to unify the titles. Moving ahead 1 year to 1964, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Lou Thesz defeats American Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion Carl Gotch in Columbus, Ohio to unify those titles. Leaping over the 70s and going straight to the 80s, 1986, the WWF's Wrestling Challenge premieres. The show was taped at the Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut on August 27th. The main event sees WWF Tag Team Champions the British Bulldogs defeat the Moondogs to retain their titles. Making two stops in 1987, first Carl Fergie defeats Jeff Jarrett in Memphis, Tennessee to win the NWA Mid-American Heavyweight title, ending Jarrett's third reign. Our second stop in 1987, Larry Hamilton defeats Scott Armstrong for the Southeast NWA United States Junior Heavyweight title. And we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, Armstrong's fourth reign and began Hamilton's 1958, grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, the Barbarian. 1990. Johnny Ace and Kenta Kobashi defeat the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers for the All Japan Pro Wrestling All Asia Tag Team titles. The always controversial moving ahead 1 year to 1991, the WWF and last but not least, 1980. In the main event, for that big mole on her face or her singing voice, defeated It's Jillian Hall to win the King of the Ring tournament. Of course, and last but not least, 1997, the WWF held the 17th In Your House event, subtitled Ground Zero. The Great. In the main event, WWF champion Bret Hart defeated the Patriot by submission.
Little Tokyo.
Those were your short, but sweet
enough of the
pro
sad
wrestling
stuff. It's
history
time to get
highlights
to
for
the meat and
September
potatoes.
7th.
That's
I'm
right.
the eclectic
These are your
gentleman,
pro
Stephen
wrestling
Watts,
history
and
highlights
we'll
for
see you
September
tomorrow.
6th.